I was recently talking to a friend about an issue that, as we were talking about it, I realized it's something that we all struggle with to one extent or another. And I think, in large part, the difference between successful people and people who are less successful, we won't say not successful, but less successful, is how they deal with this particular issue. I think all of us have fears and all of us have doubts and all of us have concerns, and often those things come to the surface when we are faced with a decision, when we need to do something, when we need to make a business decision or a family decision or some other decision in our lives that will impact not only us but other people. These insecurities, these things that we have in our heart and our lives, the stuff we don't tell anyone else about, but the thing that scares us when we think about it, those things come to the surface when it's time for us to do something. And yet often, because we don't know where this thing is going to end or exactly what the best thing to do in this situation is, we don't do anything. There's a parable in the Bible that talks about this. It's the parable of the talents is what it's called or what it's referred to. And for those that don't know the story, the basic idea is this. There was a wealthy man who put some financial resources into the hands of his servants. And those servants had the opportunity to invest it and try to make some money on it. And there was some risk involved, of course, but their job was to take it and invest it wisely so that they could produce something. One of the servants, instead of investing it because he was so scared that he might lose it, he buried it in the ground and didn't do anything with it. He was a guy that needed to understand about doing something. He needed to do something, and he did nothing. Eventually, he had to give account for that, and when he did, all he could say was, "I didn't lose anything." And how many of us are trying to not lose anything? I talk often about this idea or this phrase that we need to play to win, not play to not lose. And yet so many of us are playing the game of life to simply not lose. Here's how you accomplish things in your life. You look down the road and you see maybe some fog and maybe it's getting a little bit dark. You can't see all the way down the road, but you can see a little bit down the road. And you make a decision with the very best information that you have and you begin to move forward. You do something. People who accomplish things are people who do something when something needs to be done. There is a time to wait and there's a time to evaluate. And I'm not talking about rushing foolishly or recklessly into something, but do something. And if you do something and it turns out to not be the right something, then you'll understand that and you'll do something else and you'll move forward until you need to do something else and then something else and that's life. But don't just stay where you are and hold on to what you have or bury what you have in the ground because you're afraid of losing it. Don't in life play to simply not lose. Play to win. And winners, people who are successful, are those that understand. There comes a time when discussion and evaluation and figuring it out comes to an end. And we simply need to do something. What about you? What is it right now in your life you need to do? What step do you need to take? Where do you need to do something? My encouragement to you would be gather the best information that you have, figure it out to the best of your ability, and with that in mind, do something. If you have more to say about this, maybe questions or comments or thoughts, I would love to hear about them. And you can go ahead and just put those down right here underneath the video. And I'd love to respond to you and maybe interact a little bit on this idea of doing something, how important it is.